Blessings, everybody. I hope you're doing well wherever you may find yourselves. I'm Dane, host of the channel. Last week around this time, I posted a video, part of my series Face Off Friday, and in that video, I compared and contrast the Black Sabbath live album Live Evil versus Ozzy Osbourne's Black Sabbath album called Speak of the Devil. I call it that. It's not a Black Sabbath album, but we call it that, or some of us call it that, because it's all Black Sabbath songs on that solo live album. No solo stuff at all from Ozzy. And someone posted in the comments that you can't compare the two because both Ozzy and Dio are, quote unquote, as this person said, unique talents. Now, I agree, both Ozzy and Dio are unique talents. And in that video, I said that despite the fact that Dio is a better singer than Ozzy, there's something magical about Ozzy's voice anyway. The specific word that I use is that there's a certain chemistry with Ozzy and his bandmates, and the chemistry that Dio had with his bandmates a little different. And as you know, some fighting and stuff, so the chemistry wasn't as good. But both of them did fight with Butler and Iommi and Ward, respectively. But if we go back to this person's premise that you can't compare unique talents, again, I agree that both Dio and Ozzy are unique talents, but I disagree with the fact that you can't compare unique talents. So I can compare them, of course. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. When we say the word compare, we ironically also imply contrast. You're going to compare two works of art, you're going to talk about, obviously, or it should be obvious, similarities and differences. So, yeah, I can compare any bands or artists I want to. So, again, or rather, I respect the person's opinion. If that's their opinion, and it is, that they can't compare unique talents, okay, great. You're putting them on equal footing. I did not. So, I don't like being told what to do. I'm going to compare unique talents. You may not think it's the right thing to do, but I think all the more reason you have two unique talents. Let's take a look at their similarities and differences. So essentially, how else am I going to rank two seminal works that I like? Which one is better if I don't compare and contrast, right? And again, there'll be times where they'll be equal, but I'm not going to do a face-off video if I think they're equal. I don't think that I would do that. So again, how else am I going to decide who I rank higher if I don't compare said unique talents? Think about marketing or products in general. You're going to compare and contrast their advantages and disadvantages. You're going to compare and contrast Tide with another laundry detergent, whatever, All or something like that. So again, back to all the more reason to compare unique talents, whether it's a solo artist or not. Think metaphors and similes, right? When you have metaphors and similes, the whole purpose of those, when they were created way back when, centuries ago or millennia ago, was to take two things that you normally won't associate with each other and compare them, right? And the contrast is implied. So if you take, idioms as well. If you take, I'm an English teacher, so I'm going to use this analogy. If you take it's raining cats and dogs. Well, cats and dogs and then rain, nothing alike, and yet comes to make sense. So two unique things, compare. So it's a bit of a stretch doing that, but it does make sense. So again, comparing more often than not two unlike things is what the metaphor, simile, idiom, and other things do. So why not music? Think George Carlin, the comedian, the great comedian, when he does his shtick on baseball versus football, two, for the most part, unique sports. Some examples. Baseball is played on a diamond. Football is played on a gridiron. In baseball, you have the 7th inning stretch. In football, you have the 2-minute warning, right? Then he goes on to say, in baseball, you have extra innings. In football, you have sudden death, right? So nothing wrong with comparing unique things, whether they're talents, sports, pets, types of pets, right? So let's talk about some examples in the music world. Martin Popoff, the great music critic, in one of his books, which I think is called the origin of heavy metal, or who was the first heavy metal. It's got the cover of Black Sabbath's first album on the book, something like that. Who was the first heavy metal artist, something like that. And he brings up Paganini, violinist, right? And you can compare Paganini to Black Sabbath, and Martin Popoff does, he implies. These are two unique talents that normally you wouldn't associate, but there's something heavy about the way Paganini played said instrument. All right, if we talk about Metallica's Injustice for All versus Vivaldi, Rite of Spring, that's Stravinsky. If we talk about Four Seasons, I had a friend, or rather, not an associate, an acquaintance used to come into this bar I used to work at back in the early 90s. And we got to talking because Justice for All had just come out. And he said, boy, I would love to see Metallica do the Four Seasons in its entirety. And I thought that would be quite cool. Do a heavy metal version of that. And then this, of course, never happens. It's just an idea. And then the guy himself went off and then did it with his band. Of course, nothing came of it, but I used to have a copy of it. It sounds wonderful. So you got heavy guitar, heavy bass, heavy drums. No vocals, of course, and it worked. It sounded great. So you can compare classical music to thrash metal. You can compare Injustice for All to the rest of thrash metal, because there's nothing like Injustice for All, I think, in the whole catalog of the thrash metal stuff that I've listened to. And that's a lot of thrash metal. I'm not going to say I'm the definitive expert. I'm not even an expert on thrash metal. I'm just a fan. But I've listened to a lot of thrash metal, not bragging, but I don't think there's anything like Injustice for All. It is an enigma. There's something progressive about it. It's progressive rock meets thrash metal. You have these epic length tracks. You have Rush-like elements too. So just the phrasing is starting to get a little bit different for Hetfield, but it's not the bad phrasing we have now. That's just my opinion. So yes, you can compare. You can compare Injustice for All to Rust in Peace, both part of the thrash metal oeuvre, if you will, but so different in so many ways. Just this week we had exams at my school, and so my seniors read Gilgamesh, the excerpt, and watched a video on it, and then they read the greatest hits of Beowulf, not the whole thing. And one of the things that I asked them to do as a part of their assignment was to compare and contrast the two heroes. They're so different because Beowulf is a traditional traditional hero of the Middle Ages, of the Viking era, whereas Gilgamesh is from ancient Sumeria and Assyria, and he's a hero, or he's questionably a hero, because his quest is not the typical quest heroes go on, and I'll leave it at that. So yes, you can compare two unique things, and Gilgamesh and Beowulf are unique heroes in their own right. Let's talk about vocalists. Robert Plant versus David Coverdale. Robert Plant has a more Janis Joplin type bluesy voice, whereas David Coverdale has a more bluesy, soulful type of voice. But they're both bluesy, but very different. Ian Gillan, you can compare both of them to Ian Gillan, totally different. All three of these gentlemen are unique talents. We're going to add one person here, another vocalist, David Byron. All four of these gentlemen are great vocalists, and yet we can compare and contrast them. Nothing wrong with comparing and contrasting unique talents. And finally, look at drummers. Neil Peart, John Bonham, Phil Collins, Bill Bruford, probably my four favorite drummers of all time. Not necessarily in that order. Neil is my favorite, but they're unique talents. They share similarities and differences, but they're still unique. We're all unique. So when I saw that comment, I thought to myself, this is one of the dumbest, in the realm of music, this is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. Now, I'm not calling this person stupid, but I'm just saying that the thing that they said is stupid. You can't compare unique talents? Are you kidding me? Of course you can. Anyway, I thought I'd throw that in there today. Stay tuned later this evening. I'm going to post my Friday Face-Off video. Hope you like it. Take care now. Bye.